Hello, welcome to round 3. I swear that not everybody was on their floor for this tournament, just the first two. This was like an actual. To be fair, I think he was like 2150 a long time ago. I think he beat Josh when Josh was 1600, and he's been the same rating ever since. So, okay. D4, knight f6. Is this gonna be a King's Indian? What? E6? Sarah's never played this before. You're telling me, sister. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I just didn't like any. I looked at a few lines and I was like, listen, I'm just gonna try something new. If I like it, then fine. Knight f3, d5. This is called a, this is called a Rogozin. It's a pretty good opening. I don't know jack shit about it. I just was getting tired of the positions I was getting. Like, I tried playing like semi-Slav. I didn't like that very much. It just doesn't suit my style. So I'm just gonna keep playing around with different openings and see what I like. Looks like an Enzo. No, you are wrong. This is a Rogozin. But, anyway. Okay. I don't know theory here. I'm just gonna develop my pieces. So c takes d, bishop g5. I was semi-confident that h6 was correct here. And then here I spent kind of a long time, because... I mean, apparently... the lines I looked at, I think knight b to d7 was being played. And I was remembering ideas, but not actual lines, which is kind of a problem. I ended up playing well. I just had convinced myself that I was losing, which is a problem, because it kind of affects the way that you play. So I played g5 here, which is not fantastic. It's the third most played move in the database. It's actually played more often than the move I was meant to play. So take that however you want. For some reason I was wondering if c6 is something I should play. But I ended up thinking g5 made more sense to me based on the positions I had looked at. And I followed it up with knight e4, which makes sense. That's what I should follow it up with. But then my opponent played queen a4, and then I thought I was losing, because I was like, how can he play that move? Unless I've done something wrong. Because I just kind of assume that people know what they're doing, especially when they're higher rated than me. But that was not the case. Queen a4 is bad. And I responded well. But I just thought because I had not seen the position that I was worse. But that's really stupid. That only makes sense if you know the opening really well. No, that's not true. If you know the opening really well and they play something you don't know, they're probably doing something bad. But I just kind of assumed he would know what he was doing with the white pieces, you know. So knight c6 is forced, because I have to defend my bishop. And he played this rook c1 move that I thought was a bit weird. And I think most of you, your first instinct will be to play bishop d7, and it was mine as well. But I was not seeing the correct line. The reason I didn't play bishop d7, which is the best move, was I was concerned about queen b5. And from this position, I want you to think, how do you deal with queen b5? Because I thought for a long time, and I did not find anything that I thought was satisfactory. But it's very cool. So you can pause the video. Queen b5, or bishop d7, queen b5, a6, I think you mean? That's not correct. The reason I don't like queen b5 is because he's attacking my b pawn and my d pawn. And I don't know what to do about that. The correct thing to do is bishop d7, queen b5, knight takes c3. I didn't consider knight takes c3 as a move one time in this game, I don't think. But the point is that after b takes, bishop a3, and I'm freeing up my knight now, because when I move my knight, my bishop won't be hanging, and I'm doing so with a tempo. And at first you might think, okay, rook b1 is the point knight takes d4. You would be wrong, actually, because knight takes d4 is okay, but knight b4 is much stronger. And that shit never occurred to me. So I'm defending the pawn, I'm attacking the queen, the knight is defended by the bishop now. I can't find a move. It's fucking hard. It is gross, and it never occurred to me. Like, this idea is just not something. I mean, I've never played this opening before in my life, so of course if it's thematic, I wouldn't know it. Yes, the queen is fucked. Queen c5 almost looks like you're trying to get your queen out, but then there's this, and this is a check. I mean, that just didn't occur to me. If anything, if I had found this, I mean, maybe I would see this when I got to this position, but it would have been because I was trying to make knight d4 work, which works. Black is slightly better, but this is just winning. Okay, didn't see any of that shit. I was just like, fuck, I don't know. I identified 3 things happening on the C file. 1, 2, 3. And so I decided to close the C file. I thought that made sense. And, dubious, sure, but black is slightly better after bishop takes c3. It is a logical move. My knight is very good on e4. The rook doesn't make any sense on c1 now. And what else? That's pretty much it. I mean, I gave up a bishop, but I don't think it's such a big deal, because my knight is so strong. So, okay. Now to how does black play for an advantage? It was an idea that I had seen, I just didn't, like, I didn't know if it applied here, and I couldn't figure it out, and I was worried about my king in the center. So, a thematic idea in the Rogozin. I feel like I'm talking out of my ass because I know nothing about this, and I am, but I'm trying. Is h5. Maybe h5 isn't best here, but oops, castles definitely isn't. For the next like 5 moves, I think h5 is what I should play, and I don't play it because I just was like, how am I gonna do that? But if you really look at it, I don't see how he's getting an attack. The position is very closed. The center is probably not going to open anytime soon. Maybe I was afraid of c4 somehow opening things, but I'm not sure. I castled because I like castling, especially when I don't know what to do. It's usually okay to castle, usually. And e3's fine, and now I go knight e7, and my new plan is to play c6, get a solid center, put my bishop on one of these squares, and play knight c8 to d6, and just enjoy a nice solid position with not many weaknesses. But basically every move here I should be playing h5. Probably not there, but bishop f5, reinforcing my knight, queen c2, knight c8, and this is all good. I do think it's important to realize that I thought I was worse this whole time, though, and I was not. I feel like that was really influencing my moves. I think this was my last chance, actually, to play h5. At this point, I am a little bit worse, but it's not so bad. So we have this mass trade on e4. I no longer have my really strong knight. He has the bishop pair. My position is a little bit uncomfortable, and as we will see, just with natural moves, some big problems are about to happen. So f3, and it's kind of reminds me of my first round game. He's gonna get a massive center. and he's going to put his rooks behind it, and my king is weak. And that's a big problem. So this is forced, because I cannot go anywhere with my bishop. So we'll play that. And here I play queen d7 because I'm a little bit afraid of being attacked, and maybe I can gain some control over the light squares to get compensation. And that is the point of queen d7. And he immediately takes on e6 or d6, because the only way I'm going to get compensation is if I get a knight on a good square. Yes, I went undefeated, but I drew 3 games, so you do the math. Okay, and now c4. So here's the critical position in the game, I think. I was really not happy to see c4. I was expecting e4. E4, like, taking is suicide, I think. But this is I think a lot stronger. He just wants to eliminate the d-pawn and then play e4. I found a very, very good idea and defended like God. So, black to play. There's more than one good move. I just kind of like mine the best, especially practically. Queen a. I considered queen a6 actually, pinning the c-pawn. I don't think it's very good. I don't remember exactly what I didn't like about it. Maybe I didn't like just rook d1, maybe? Or well, Queen a6 might be okay. It's definitely a move I considered. It's not like you're ever going to take the a-pawn, though. I feel like that's pretty suicidal. He might get some Banco-flavored pressure. And you still have to deal with this. Like, I just defend my queen, and then you still have to... Are you going to play c6 after that, or what? Queen e6 is probably okay. I probably play rook e1. My whole thing is that I wanted to get c5 in. I want to discourage expansion in the center as much as I can. I ended up playing rook c8 with the idea of being able to play c5 in one go at some point. And if he does, say, c takes d5, queen takes d5, he can play d4, but at that point, my c-pawn is defended at least. So now I have the option of not playing c6. Instead of playing c6, rook c8, c5 at some point. Rook c8 is a good move because it's just taking care of everything ahead of time. So queen b3, I think, is a natural looking move. And this is what I'm really proud of. My idea here. It's kind of hard to defend the b-pawn now, because I already put my rook on c8. b6 looks hideous. I think c6 is reasonable, because I can't currently take without, I mean, I have to throw rook c7 in first to defend my rook, and then rook takes. Then it goes back to b3. It's all very complicated. And I have to keep reminding myself that the only way I will lose this is if he gets his massive center mobilized. Is the move c4. That's not even a legal move. So try again. Any draw offers happen in this game, yes. In fact, this game was a draw. So, the best thing to do here is d takes c4. He can't take with the queen because he undefends his e-pawn. Rook takes, c5, give that shit a double exclam. That may be one of the moves I'm most proud of this weekend. Why can white not take on b7? Because after I took on c4, I'm opening the c file, and it's not like I can take this because my rook is hanging. I think we should go back a few moves, though, because the queen is close to being overworked, which is what made me find this. The reason we take on c4 first is to place a rook on c4 and creating another loose piece for the queen to defend. And after c5, my opponent took on b7, which is not good. And I actually had to think, I thought for like 5 minutes here, maybe even longer, because I was so shocked he was just like letting me go into this. I think better is just this. I mean, this looks pretty awful. Maybe b6 here, and at least I've gained a little bit of space, and I'm not just suffocating. And my pawns are not as easy to attack anymore. But I still have to deal with this annoying pin. For the time being, I've kind of slowed down his plan. But okay, taking on b7. The idea is queen e6. Now I am attacking the rook, and I am double attacking the pawn on e3, so even if queen b3, I can take on e3. But we still have to be very accurate here, because after queen b3, if I just take on e3, he ends up with a passed pawn on c5, which I think is really kind of hard to deal with. So instead, I played rook b8 as an intermezzo, and then I take on d4 actually. And you'll notice it's a similar position, except he ends up with a pawn on d4 rather than a pawn on c5. And now I was just sort of excited to not be worse for the first time in my head for the whole game. And I kind of just queen e3 is automatic, I thought, and just trade the queens. This is a draw. And I was just happy. But Josh pointed out queen e2. Black is like close to winning unless you find like this one idea. It's still equal, but he has to play sort of accurately. So white to play and not lose. Queen c2 fails to rook b2. And white is losing. If not losing, I mean, again, I have the better side of a draw, probably. Rook e1 hangs a rook. Rook b4. I mean, I at least have rook c8, rook c2. That's okay. Don't say sorry, I feel bad now. King h1 hangs mate. Okay, so in fact, the only way to survive here with white is to play d5. And after rook b2, rook g4. Bam! My rook's not gonna be kicked away from here. I would have never found that. Yeah, my opponent I think would have. I think it would have been good to at least test him. I was just like, after being worse for so long, I was like, oh my god, I get to trade queens! You know? Into an equal endgame that I fought my ass off to get to. But, I mean, black is slightly better here. Because I can, like, do this, and then that, and then... He has to play, like, a lot of good moves to draw. In fact, after rook c2, it's already, like, he only has 2 moves that don't lose. Again. He has to play queen a1 or queen d4. So it's seriously a difficult position. But I'm pretty bummed that I didn't do that. It just didn't occur to me. I was just like, oh my god, a draw, thank god. And now this position is equal. We can talk about it for a minute, I guess, because rook and pawn endgames. But currently, I was under the impression that he could not defend this pawn, because if he plays rook c2, I play rook d3, and I mean, he can't defend the pawn. And then he just did this instantly, and I was like, what? And I made a weird face, and I thought for a while, and then I played this, and he was like, yeah. It's like, okay, you could have thought for a second. It's already equal here. It's not like it's allowing a draw. But okay, at this point, he gets his rook's active, but I can always defend with rook f8 or rook f6. So I think I offered a draw, like, around here, and he said no. And I was like, really? Like, why? And then I just, like, kind of, it was late. It was one of the last games again, and I had to go home, drive home for an hour, and go to bed and play chess the next day. So I just I stood up and I started making my moves, standing up and writing down my moves, because my moves were automatic. So he tried to beat me for a while. And then draw agreed, I guess, here. Because I can take. I think he played here and offered a draw, and I accepted. So, not the most interesting game, but I am very happy with finding rook c8, c5, and knowing not to take on e3, knowing to take on d4 is... Well, playing rook b8 and taking on d4, I mean, that's a lot of best moves to find in a row. And if I don't find them, my position is pretty miserable. So, okay. Yes, it sucks I didn't play for an advantage, but I didn't know. Like, it didn't occur to me that I could ever have a position out of this opening that I, you know, but whatever. Excuses.